Welcome to the Configure Price Quote Podcast. My name is Frank Sohn and I'm the founder of CPQ Consulting. This podcast is 100% focused on Configure Price Quote, also known as CPQ, and will provide you useful insights into this topic. Today my guest is Tyler Moini, founder and managing director at Expedite Commerce. Tyler is a seasoned leader with over 25 years of business experience in transforming sales teams and process. His track record includes founding successful ventures, driving growth in SaaS and telecommunications, and achieving highest customer satisfaction rating. Tyler lives in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I'm excited to have him back as a guest for the first time since 2021. Welcome back to the CPQ Podcast, Tyler.
It's my pleasure.
Very excited to have you back, and let's start maybe by telling me what has changed since 2021 for you personally and for Expedite Commerce.
For me personally, I have moved to Miami, Florida from Dallas just within the last year, so that's new. Ooh. So I get to be close to the water. Yeah. I enjoy that. From Expedite Commerce, basically we were framed as a unified API-first platform for complex quote-to-cash and commerce workflows. That's still true for us architecturally, but our understanding of the problem has become a lot sharper. We believe that the real problem is in handling the commercial state across the life cycle for pricing, coding, and contract subscription asset management. And we've evolved from a composable platform into a governed execution platform approach.
Excellent. You mentioned something, Tyler, that I have to ask you for. So I thought you were still living in Dallas, right? So now you moved to Florida. Tell me a little bit, what was the reason for that move?
Well, I love Dallas. Texas is a great state. I wanted to be closer to the water. I have some...
there's also Houston, right? So that's also...
There's Houston. There's Houston, but I was in the Dallas area. But now I get a clear view of the ocean, which I enjoy. And then I wanted to do some of the activities that I liked more. Besides like cars and getting on the racetrack, I like offshore fishing and scuba diving. And this makes that more possible for me and easy access for it.
Oh, wow. Very cool. So now even during the week, you can do something like that? Or is that mostly for the weekends when you do?
Well, supposedly you could, but I've never been able to find that time during the week to go do it. So if I get to do it on the weekend, I'm still excited.
But what is the impact for Expedite Commerce? So how does it impact the team when you're in Florida?
Oh, I'd say there's no or minimal impact. I mean, we're mostly virtual anyway in our operating model. And so, where I live probably makes almost no difference, in terms of how we operate.
Excellent. So now that we know where you live happily in Florida, then let's start talking a little bit more about Expedite Commerce, right? And let's start by telling me what has changed since 2021 with the offering, with the architecture. You take it away so that listeners who are new to it and get an understanding of what Expedite Commerce is and what you offer.
Yeah, as I was mentioning, really our news story is around governed execution. So we still believe the API first architecture, headless architecture, because our customers need to be able to not just leverage our software in a configuration manner, but they also need to extend it and really customize it. So having it API first helps them a lot. But the big shift is now we're handling the execution layer, and it's an intelligent execution layer underneath that helps them, manage the commercial state far better than what they could do before.
And I think that's interesting that you mentioned this with the execution layer, right? So because you started using this term revenue execution platform, and I think it helps to clarify what you mean by that and why that's different from a broader CPQ or quote to cash platform approach from your perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way we look at revenue execution platform is a system that not only guides the revenue decisions, but actually executes the commercial state and maintains the coherent commercial state across the lifecycle. So what I mean by that is, before you had screens that the users had to navigate. They had to learn the system, they had to navigate the screens. And there was a lot of challenges onboarding and breaking of the process, as they had to navigate the screens. So what we do, the execution platform, is that we manage the user experience. So our system navigates the screens for them, and it has an underlying intelligent engine that actually does the work for them based on their instructions. And it does it in a governed fashion, so it doesn't drift, and it allows them to review it and accept it before they move forward.
I think for a listener to really make sense out of this, do you have an example that you can mention so that it's getting a little bit clearer to understand the execution platform that you're talking about?
Yeah. So for an example, if I'm a sales rep, I could just, via a natural language, text-based, enter what the customer need is, and I could define that more contextually, like this is what their business need is, or I can define it, specifically with what products they're wanting to get. Either way, our intelligent underlying system we call Genesis understands that, interprets that, and then finds the right product, does the configuration, and takes the user to the screen that they need to be at to review the work.
Excellent. And I think we will talk more about that later, but I think one thing which makes sense to clarify and discuss right now also is to say, okay, Genesis, so your underlying AI, is a revenue execution layer, right? Rather than a bolt-on. Tell me
Yes.
more about that and why you thought it had to be part of the platform and not a part, not the bolt-on to your solution.
Yeah, I mean, we see what we see with bolt-ons not working is that if you have like a chatbot on top of your standard SaaS software, you still have to navigate the screens, and you can't rely on the chatbot to not hallucinate, not drift, not go off track, right? So in order to really manage this correctly, it needs to be really the foundation of the system, right? So your intelligence, your AI needs to be the foundation of the system that is aware of whatever rules you have and whatever access permissions you have for the individual that's using the system. It's aware of pricing. It's aware of configuration rules. It's aware of anything else that may require governing, in your platform. So when it does the work for you, you can rely on it.
Excellent. Makes lots of sense. Then let's talk about the ideal customer profile. Who would you say is an ideal customer for you now in 2026?
Any customer that has a sophisticated revenue process across their organization, it's a right customer for us. And to give you a more further example, so if you think about two types, one could be a subscription-based company, whether it's a complex SaaS company or a company that has infrastructure as a service or IoT, where they have to manage not just a subscription, but they also have to manage devices across the revenue lifecycle. Having that complexity from start to finish makes them ideal customer for us. The second one is manufacturers. So for example, if you got a make-to-order manufacturer that not only has to deal with selling the finished goods, like let's say it's a configured finished good, but they have to handle the rest of the life cycle because they have to manage the parts, the warranty across the equipment. They have to track it at a serialized level. And they may have more subscription services that they may offer on top of that, like preventative maintenance or extended warranties or other things. Now, handling all this from start to finish is very complicated, and that's where we come in, and that's the ideal customer that we can serve.
Got it. And what customer size is that typically when you say small, medium? or large enterprise customers?
Yeah, I'd say mid-market to early enterprise. So if you think about revenue, it could be like 200 million starting to 2 million in revenue. Or if you think about employee count, it's several hundred to a few thousand employee count would be the ideal.
Excellent, got it. And the geographies that you focus on, is that mostly North America and Europe, or is that has it expanded beyond that?
It has expanded. I mean, our main focus is in North America or Europe. We do have customers in Asia, but all the customers we have, whether they're headquartered or their operating, business unit is in North America or Europe, they all operate globally.
Hmm.
So they have operations all across the globe in different languages, different currencies. So we handle all that complication for them.
Excellent. So, how many employees you have at this time, and where are they located?
Well, that's a good question because if you were to ask about a year or more ago, the number of employees made a difference in terms of how well you support your customers. But we're shifting our company to a AI first operating model, and that actually means not as many employees but more throughput. So our employee count is actually going down, but our distribution of employees you also asked about is in the US. We have employees in India and some in Canada and some in Europe.
Okay, excellent. So all over the place. Now tell me, so for a customer, right? So when I hear that, how does your solution in business help me streamline my sales process and reduce my quoting errors?
Well, I would go back to the governance. So we've been in the CPQ business for a very long time, but that's not the only thing that affects coding errors today. Um, it's handling the execution layer that really helps. So right now, the intelligence system knows all the direction that's given to them, both from rules and governance, but also from guidance that you may have from your product manager, or your marketing team or whatnot, so that you're quoting the right product. Quoting errors are not always, did I give the right pricing or the configurations? It could be that did I provide the right product that fit the customer? And so the intelligence layer today handles all that for the user.
Excellent. Your solution does not only cover CPQ, you're also covering billing and e-commerce. We'll talk about that as well, right? But before we go there, I wanted to also understand what our CRM, ERP, and other solutions you support now out of the box, or if it's too many, where listeners can find this information, and at least talk about the main ones.
Yeah. So you can find the information on expeditecommerce.com on our website. But in terms of CRMs, we support Salesforce, Zoho, and HubSpot. And we run native on Salesforce, but that doesn't mean that you have to be a Salesforce CRM customer. We have customers today that use other CRMs. And then in terms of ERP, we support SAP S/4HANA, NetSuite. We have implementations with Oracle. And some of our customers have integrated to like Workday and other ones because we do have an integration layer that is open API first. So they have implemented it to the other ERPs, but you asked about native, right?
Yep.
Providing native answer.
Excellent. But since you mentioned Salesforce, right, and you're built on the Salesforce platform, right? So I was wondering, as probably most of our listeners know by now, that Salesforce has the new solution, the Agentforce Revenue Management. I was wondering how you position yourself against the Salesforce Revenue Cloud solution at this time.
Yeah, so we take RCA seriously. It's a meaningful modernization path for Salesforce-centric quoting. The difference is that our focus is broader than just quote modernization inside of Salesforce. We are focused on that revenue experience. So as I mentioned earlier, we manage the user experience, the screens that the user are exposed to as they go through the revenue execution lifecycle, whereas Salesforce, you're still having to navigate screens to make it operate. In terms of Agentforce, our stack is open, and while we handle the whole execution layer with our AI agents, we expect that our customers need to interact or integrate into other AI systems, obviously Agentforce, but it doesn't have to be Agentforce. It could be any AI framework, agent framework that they have. So we allow that extension so that our Salesforce customers can use Agentforce and our non-Salesforce customers can use their own stack. That's how we integrate.
If your company is evaluating CPQ and you're not sure which vendors are actually worth your time, try the free Novo CPQ Briefing Match app. You answer a few questions about your business and requirements, and it gives you a more focused starting shortlist of relevant CPQ solutions. It's meant to save time, reduce noise, and make early CPQ research a lot easier. Go to novocpq.com and click on the CPQ podcast page to find it. What do you want a listener to take away about your billing capabilities when they listen to this podcast? What are the key things that you think make you stand out beyond the competition?
Yeah, we have a lot of pricing models that we support on our billing platform. I come from a telecommunications background, so in those situations, they have a lot of consumption or usage-based price models that we support, not just in the front end of the process in terms of quoting and interacting to the customers, but on the back end billing side of the process. And especially now, as the market is shifting towards even the SaaS companies may have to start adopting more of a consumption-based model. We're well positioned to start handling that for them. And it's not just for communications providers and some very unique SaaS companies. It's becoming more of a broader need, I would say.
Then let's talk a little bit more about e-commerce, because you're one of the few solutions who has an integrated e-commerce capability, right? So, and tell me first in some general terms what it does and why it's valuable, and then I have some more specific questions.
Yeah, our e-commerce capability handles several surface areas. Obviously, we handle what you traditionally think about e-commerce, where you have a storefront, you can make purchases, and see your card and check out. But in our customer base, there is a need for a lot of partner interactions. So many of them may have distributors that are selling their products with their own pricing schemes and how they want to operate and interact. Some of them in the manufacturing may have independent service providers that actually help them service their customers, and they need access to that commercial state that I was talking to you about. Like, what does this customer have in their site? What's their equipment? What are their parts? And if they're under warranty, can I order that, under warranty for them? So we handle customer, distributor, service partners, and that's the use case. And then the deployment models can vary. We have a builder where you can build your experience, configure your experience, if you will, and include some of our composable components in there. But you can also deploy it as an independent deployment. If you have a highly customized portal today and you want to integrate some of our composable pieces in there, or you can, or we can build, or you can build your own, anymore. It's easy to build the storefront, just with AI code, and we allow that to happen. But we make it easy because of all the APIs that we have available and the composable UI that we have available. So customers can have a very customized experience, but not have to build everything from the top down.
Got it. And tell me a little bit more about that. Also, the results that customers see that use that functionality, right? So AI personalizing the e-commerce experience for each customer sounds great, but also like a lot of work. So, tell me what your customers see with this capability. What do they gain by using that?
Well, I'll give you the service partner example. A company that wants to work with service partners to handle their install base, their customers, their physical equipment, has a real tough time to do it if they don't have one, a system that handles their commercial state, right? So now all the service partners have to call their service agents, at their call center to figure out what's going on and how do they resolve it. And two, if they have this portal that they can, the service partners can log into, they can essentially handle the whole transaction on their own. So our customers that deploy that now are getting better customer service and are offloading the service process to their partners using our portal. And, that's making them successful, basically not just monetizing the service and the parts for the customer, but offloading it to their service partners. That's an example of something that they accomplish.
Yeah. And also one question I want to ask for e-commerce is integration to other standard e-commerce packages. Is there anything worth mentioning here? If customers already have,
Yeah. If a customer already has a package,
yep.
let's say they have a storefront already, but their storefront just sells, standard SKUs, and let's say they want to start getting into a configured SKU, what they can do is they can drop our composable configurator into their storefront. And so for the SKUs that are configurable, they can just integrate it right in and take advantage of the whole rules engine and the configuration rules without having to lift and shift their platform.
And can you elaborate a little bit on the specific types of AI technologies used in your CPQ, CLM, and digital sales room solutions?
With technologies, do you mean like the models or?
Yep.
Yeah, so we manage the models on our side, so we can determine what's the most cost-effective model to use and when is it needed to use a higher intensity model because it's making stronger decisions. So we do it intentionally so our customers don't have to worry about it. Now, I would say that we've heard from some customers they may want to choose their own models. That's something we're considering and letting them choose that and handle it on their side. But as it stands today, we manage all that for them.
Okay, but you would be open to support others as well. At least you're evaluating it at this time.
Yeah, we're definitely evaluating it. And the nice thing about the whole execution layer that we have that does governance, it is really model independent. So not only we can switch models that, in the future, if we allow our customers to choose their model, they can decide using the best model. It doesn't violate any of the execution layer and the governance layer and the learning layer that we have. They can switch models easily.
And what I've seen, Tyler, is over the last 2.5 years, we've talked many times also here in the CPQ podcast about AI and CPQ. I still don't see that many customers jumping all in on this one, right? So therefore, I was wondering from your point of view, what are some considerations business should keep in mind when they use AI in their sales and marketing efforts?
Yeah, I'm with you too. I think one of the challenges they have, what we're seeing with customers, is that they were trying to figure out how to make the switch, right? How to make it, and frankly, how to make the switch safely.
Yep.
And that's really why we focused on building this to give them the bridge to do it. One aspect is making the switch safely. The second aspect is how do I handle my organizational change, because I have all these human workers that how are they going to supposed to work with AI anymore, right? And so what we do is we give them the experience layer, so the human workers are still looking at screens, some things that they're comfortable with, but the AI layer is underneath it, so they can do the transition. And then the second thing is once you have the AI layer underneath, then you can grow into more AI to AI transactions that may be coming in the future later. Now, you asked what should they consider, right, in terms of making the transition. I think they have to focus on, is the AI governed, right? So they can be safe about it. Does it manage a coherent state, right? So that they can handle the system of record is solid and confident. And does it handle, does it execute the revenue lifecycle, and it's not just coordinating workflow or giving insights and suggestions? Like, those are the three things that's important for them to consider.
Makes sense. Now let's talk about a couple of specific features and functions that we haven't talked, or at least not much, up until this point, right? So you have an AI CLM product and you have the AI CPQ product that we talked about. What should listeners know about how your CLM product integrates with your CPQ product? And CLM in this case is obviously contract lifecycle management.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing about our platform, it has been architected and built as a quote to cash system, even in its early days. So we have a pretty tight integration between the whole revenue lifecycle, be it quoting or contracting or ordering, billing, all that. So they all work together pretty tightly. I would say that we have full awareness of the contract state. So if it's a new customer, we understand what needs to happen in terms of their contract negotiation and signature. And if it's an existing customer, we understand where their contract is in the life cycle and how would the quoting need to handle, add-ons or renewals or expansions or things like that. We manage those states well. For manufacturers, even though there's not a contract in play per se, we handled the state similarly as if you had all the install base information, and we know what state each of their equipment is and what changes they can make to it or order parts for it.
Then let's talk about the next item that I have over here, and that's what recurring billing capabilities does the Expedite Commerce solution offer?
Yeah, like I mentioned before, we handle, I don't know, about dozen to 15 revenue models. Obviously, we can do any type of standard recurring and one-time fees, but we handle consumption-based with minimums and tiers and thresholds. So it's pretty sophisticated in terms of the revenue models. I don't know if you have time to go over all 12 of them.
Yeah, I think we're getting too close to the end of this interview, but we can point listeners to it. If you have something on a website that we can point them to, then they can follow up in detail if they want to.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, and now I ask a lot of different questions. Was there anything else I should have asked that I didn't ask that you think is important for listeners to fully understand the capabilities of your solution?
Yeah, I would say one thing that we haven't talked about in detail. I know that there's a lot of Salesforce CPQ customers that are looking for a path forward. And we basically have created a Genesis sidecar solution for CPQ, the legacy Salesforce CPQ customers, where they can still maintain their object model and integrations that they have with Salesforce CPQ, but Genesis can run in parallel that can do the execution layer for them. And that gives them a path to take advantage of the capabilities right away and then transition into a full transition over time where it makes sense for them.
Excellent. And is there any possibility for our listeners to meet you or the team on any industry events in the next 3 months or so? Anything worth sharing here?
I wouldn't say we're scheduled for the industry event, but we are planning some webinars that are specific, two webinars, one that's specific to manufacturing companies and one that's specific to subscription companies. Those will be posted on our website, and we encourage anybody who's interested to attend those.
Excellent. And for anyone who wants to learn a little bit more about you, we also did the briefing a little while ago, right? So the document is also in the briefing library. Whoever is interested in that can have a look at that as well. Tyler, it was fantastic talking to you. What's a good way for interested listeners to contact you or your team in case they have any follow-up questions for you?
Yeah, I think the best path is to go to expeditecommerce.com. You could find out information about our company. And personally, I'm on LinkedIn, Tyler Moini, and look me up, connect with me, and happy to chat.
Perfect. We will have all this information in the show notes. As always, Tyler, thank you very much for making time for the CPQ podcast today.
It was my pleasure, Frank.
I'd like to thank everyone for listening and hope you learned something interesting today. If you like the podcast, please go ahead and rate it on iTunes or share it with your friends and colleagues. In the meantime, you can find us online at www.novocpq.com. So long, everyone.